He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Welcome once again to Bat Minute and Robin, the show that controls the very fates themselves. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And here, monopolizing the evening airwaves, it's me, Niall McGowan.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. And we are joined once again by our very, very special guests from the DC Cinematic Minute. We've got Mark. Hello.
Hello.
We've got Nathan. Hello.
Howdy.
Hey. Thank you for joining us once again for minute 53 of Batman and Robin. We say this all the time, but at least once a week, but how the hell are we here? 53. And it starts with Alfred's latest release about to drop, and it ends with a goddamn mic drop of the speech. Bam!
So the whole sentiment of Alfred's whole, speech to Bruce is like, oh, am I pig-headed? Yeah, you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alfred, I've been a dick.
It's a classic Alfred bit.
Hey, yeah, he's there to tell him the truth.
Yeah.
I thought it's one of those things, though, and obviously we'll get into, that as we go on, but like we've been saying almost from the get-go, all the scenes with Bruce and Alfred in this, despite the reputation of Batman and Robin, they're almost uniformly great. Like,
oh, yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, the only thing that would really make it better is just if it were Michael Keaton he was talking to, because then you would have the history between the two guys. But just as an actual concept, these two, I'm loving these scenes. I think this actually works very, very well.
Easily the best parts of the movie, unless you're ignoring silly camp. Like, if you want to judge it compared to the previous films, yeah, these are the top scenes.
Oh, yeah. Now that you say that if only it was Michael Keaton, is that why they kind of eyed George Clooney for this role, to like more kind of encapsulate that energy that Keaton has as Keaton, not like Keaton's Batman, but just like who Michael Keaton kind of is, like his energy,
as opposed to Val.
Because Val Kilmer was more like him, or like Val Kilmer was more into like the method of being Bruce Wayne, and like he was nothing like Keaton, which it's not a bad thing. It's just, Kilmer was like into the character in Forever. But here it's like Clooney's like, oh, I guess he does kind of have, because like if Keaton were to take this scene and do the same thing, the energy would almost be the same.
Yeah, it does have very great shades of the whole, Alfred talking to Bruce about Vicky Vale, and I'm like, oh, Alfred, why don't you marry her? Like that kind of joking buddy relationship between the, it's much more, it's him completely at ease. His guard's totally down and stuff. Like, yeah, actually, I never considered that before, but Clooney is investing a lot more of the Keaton energy back into the character than because Val was, guy who's, his soul had died basically in the last movie.
Yeah, I kind of grew to like Val over the course of the season, but that's a good way of putting it. He's kind of robotic, which does work for the character sometimes.
Yeah.
I wonder if what we're seeing, Mark, what you're describing, is just like something that can be ascertained to the method of acting and who those characters are. I mean, you have Michael Keaton, standalone actor. He's Michael Keaton, and then you have George Clooney, and he's doing George Clooney, especially in this minute. He is just doing George Clooney. He's doing the Clooney shtick. Yeah. And that kind of plays, in my opinion, well for the Bruce Wayne character because it's so calm and collective, and it seems like he's being calculated. Clooney's not, but it seems like he is because it's so stern and everything is just there's no question with his decisions or anything like that. But I'm curious if what we're just seeing is just a more firmer grip of acting, and it's just that we're seeing George Clooney, and we just get that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's weird because like then I start to think of like, okay, well, who's like closer to like my idea of how Bruce Wayne would be? Because I don't even know if Bruce Wayne would ask, "Am I pig-headed?" I think he would just be too stubborn to say anything. And of course, what Alfred says in this minute is like something Alfred would say, uh, uninstigated. Like he would just be like, "Yes, you know." I'm trying to think.
Here's
of,
what Batman is. That's what he's
like,
pretty much saying. He's like, "Look,
everything
I'm
Alfred
telling you
is
exactly
saying.
what you are."
It's like almost like Bruce Wayne could just be staring into the fireplace, and Alfred would just come up and say the exact same lines. Like
you need to stop being so
yeah,
pig-headed.
Your whole life has been because of tragedy and chance and death have taken your parents from you and stuff like that. It's like he could just say those things and whisper it because of voice of conscience.
It's one of the things like in terms of like again, this movie been called Batman and Robin, and I feel it should be more focused on the relationship within the household and stuff between Batman, Robin, and Alfred. I think the way I would have spun this is because classically it's kind of considered that Alfred is a real father figure, a much more affectionate father figure to Dick Grayson throughout Bat lore, because in some instances almost a regret of the way that he raised Bruce in a very formal arm's length manner of just like, I am the butler and I do care for this kid, but I'm staying, my duties are clear and stuff. And then Bruce Wayne grows up to be dark, brooding, loner type kind of guy. And then so with Dick Grayson, he's like, I'm going to go the other way, and he's actually much more of an affectionate father figure to Dick throughout comics and animated shows and stuff. And like in many ways, I would have rather. One thing I would have definitely added to this is to have Alfred also talking to Dick about this, where he's the mediator between the two guys. And the way I would have played it would be that Dick would go up to talk to Alfred as his father figure, and then Alfred would have to go down to the cave to Bruce to be like, you do realize he's up there, he's pretty upset with you. And you've been pig-headed and stuff. Rather than, it wouldn't come out with it just like that, but he would do it in that glib Alfred fashion. And classically that would be more Batman, where he's like, I'm just burying my problems, I'm sitting down, I'm doing work on the back computer, I'm getting ready to go back out and patrol and stuff. Whereas Dick would be the one who's like more emotionally engaged, and he's like, I want to go and talk to someone about this. But Dick's just in this scenario is just left to his own devices, and it's Bruce comes knocking on Alfred's door. Then I would have thought that, like, in a movie called Batman and Robin, you should have got both sides to the arguments been talked out with Alfred, with the two guys as well. But
yeah, I agree completely. I think like it's kind of weird that Bruce Wayne is kind of like, oh, am I being pig-headed? It's like, I don't think Bruce would ever ask that question because he'd be too stubborn to admit it. It wouldn't become something that kind of he just found out about. It's just he already knows everything that Alfred is telling him. He is trying to control entropy in his own way because of what's happened to him. Which is like, again, it's one of those things that we kind of get annoyed about, is the killing of the Waynes over and over again. But when the movies try to tie them back into like the reason that you're having problems right now, it's like you need to see a therapist. But
yes, very much so. Maybe instead of him asking the question, then I love the way we've jumped to the end of the minute. Instead of asking the question, am I being pig-headed? Maybe Robin could have called him that, and then he's here ranting about it just to himself. Like, I'm not pig-headed. How can he call me that? And then Alfred could step in like, well.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the novelization, Dick, I kind of thought like it must have been a thing cut from the script, but it's not in the script. Like in the novelization, during the argument, Dick goes, all the pig-headed, and just, he kind of lunges at Bruce. And it feels like that should be a thing. Because here it's the way he says it's like, am I pig-headed? It's almost as if like someone has just called me pig-headed. Whereas now it's like, yeah, he's clearly plagued with the regret of things and saying like, am I been too harsh and stuff? Whereas classic versions of Batman would be like, he would be just getting on with things and maybe not really, like, he would need Alfred to come down and tell him that, no, you're being the asshole in this scenario, basically.
Is there not a Dick and Alfred scene later in this movie? I have no idea.
No, they don't. There's more Dick and Alfred action in Forever than there is in this movie.
Yeah, and they're great together, I always think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
They're quite cute. They're a cute duo.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's weird. I've never even heard the term pig-headed.
I was just gonna say I didn't want to feel embarrassed about it. I've never heard that before. I didn't know. I thought I was going to ask, is he saying big-headed or pig-headed? Because I'm erring on big, but pig-headed, I had to look it up. I had to look it up.
It is a thing.
It seems like an offense to pigs, right? I mean, aren't they smart?
I mean,
pig,
come
am I right?
Yeah, right? Yes.
They are clever. I think. What is it actually about though? Now, because to me it seems more like are pigs stubborn? Do they get like something in their head, and that's what they're doing?
The definition is stupidly obstinate.
Oh, there you go. That actually perfectly sums it up. Like what?
So, yeah,
it's
it's just stubborn.
Stupidly obstinate, Alfred?
Just
Yes,
stubborn.
you are.
Yeah,
Is it maybe more used? I mean, it's not a common phrase, but is it maybe more used over here? But then it should be Alfred saying it then, rather than Bruce. I don't know.
I have a theory as to why that phrase is used, and I think it might be an allusion to George Clooney's personal life, because I don't know if you guys are aware, George Clooney very famously had a pet pig called Max for 18 years. I looked into Max because a lot of stories with him, like
Max Shrek, yes, the pig.
oh yes, named after Max Shrek, of course. But no, it's apparently back in the 80s. Back in 1987, he bought Max as a gift for Kelly Preston, tragically late actress Kelly Preston, who was married to John Travolta. And they were going out for a while. And then when she left Max behind. So Clooney's like, all right, I guess I'm keeping the pig.
Oh, you can't leave the pig behind.
Yeah, and he didn't. 18 years throughout the 90s. Like Joel Schumacher talks about when he met with George Clooney to talk about playing Batman. He's like,
Did
"Oh
he
yeah,
bring the pig?"
No, I went to his house. Like, yeah, the pig was just walking around the living room, and people have said that like the pig used to sleep with him. It was constantly like it'd bring it on set. I think when people came to interview him, they'd have to, the pig, they'd have to step over the pig to get into the house to talk to him and stuff.
Good, I like that. Put them in their place. The pig. It's the pig's house, not yours.
Yeah, that's being pig-headed. It's my
At
house.
one point, people have said that like it might have actually caused, like, one of his ex-girlfriends said like he would never settle down because he was too like dedicated to like making sure the pig was okay and stuff.
It's my rules, my house, my pig, my way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that pig.
Apparently, he was dating a supermodel called Celine Balatran, and she issued the ultimatum of like, it's either me or the pig, and he was just like, the pig.
That's
Like,
not right.
Yes.
You can't do that.
I support him in that 100%.
Yeah, and so he thought, some great stories where he's like saying, like during the 1994 earthquake in LA, Clooney's saying like, oh yeah, my buddy who lives in the downstairs guest house comes running up, and he's naked with a gun.
Oh, I thought the buddy was the pig.
No, Clooney was woken up by the pig because they were in bed together, and the animals always sense it coming first, so it woke up George Clooney to tell him it's an earthquake coming. And then so he says like, yeah, my buddy who lives in the downstairs guest house comes running up. He's naked with a gun because he thought someone was breaking in. And I'm trying to write a note to my folks, trying to explain to them, in case we die, that it's not what it seems. These two naked men, a gun, and a pig in a bedroom together.
Yeah, that's a movie right there.
So basically, George Clooney was living like Bruce Wayne. He had a young ward living downstairs.
That is so weird.
Oh, he should have had the things together. The guy downstairs turns out to be Alfred. The pig is Robin, and then you just cast the pig instead of Chris O'Donnell in this movie. I was like, oh, nobody. Everybody
he says, I'll sign on
on
to your movie, but the pig needs a role.
He's like, I'll play Batman. One thing, though. You gotta get rid of that other guy.
The pig is on board.
Yeah, but tragically, though, of course, then Max died. And weirdly enough, it does tie into something from previous seasons when, remember, we talked about Danny DeVito famously went on an episode of The View where he was blind, stinking drunk and was just like, he's giving out about George Bush and stuff. And it was great, like, oh, Danny DeVito been a drunken, not a buffoon, but like, clearly coming out on TV, stinking drunk.
Oh, so the pig got drunk and went on TV, okay.
No, the thing's tragically that Danny DeVito got drunk with George Clooney that night. That's why him and George Clooney were drinking limoncellos the entire night. And then they both had to go off to do, press conferences. And while Clooney is away that same night, that's when Max died. So yeah, but he said
From
apparently-
natural causes, though, right?
Yeah. He said, when people asked him about it, it's like, oh yeah, he was like blind in one eye. He was like barely walk. He was as old as any friggin' pig, basically, like that could possibly have kept. He's like, and he was obviously devastated about it as well and stuff because he took this pig on like private jet trips on John Travolta's plane and stuff. But
So pigs can fly.
hey. Although from that though, I did also look into other people affiliated with this movie and their pets, and of course Arnold Schwarzenegger's pets are current like Instagram stars, because Schwarzenegger has a miniature horse called Whiskey.
Oh yes, I've seen that one.
Yeah, a donkey named Lulu, and he's got dogs called Noodle, Cherry, and Dutch, which I'm assuming
like his character.
Yeah, that's the thing. So because Dutch being his character in Predator. If you're gonna name the dog after, you gotta name the other dogs after like John Matrix, and, like Conan,
John
and
Kimball
stuff.
as well. He has in Kindergarten Cop.
This is all the Johns.
Conan.
And
He's always really trying to prove that he's American, despite that accent, isn't he? He's like, "Yes, call me John." Like, nobody's buying it.
recently rewatched The Sixth Day, and his character name in that is Andy Gibson. It's like,
He's not Andy Gibbs.
yeah, that's like no way, Arnie. But just get the screenwriters to change the name. Like maybe they wrote it with someone else in mind, but once you come on, they have to change it to a more Arnold Schwarzenegger-ish kind
Just
of
make
name.
the character an Austrian who's moved to America, like Arnold is.
But yeah, so Arnie has those pets. Val Kilmer, of course, classically we talked about last season, had a pet buffalo called James
Whoa.
Brown as well. So
James Brown.
yeah. Apparently
James
he
Brown
had
Buffalo.
a tremendous stomp, so he named him James Brown.
Oh my god.
And yeah, Michael Keaton apparently he was involved in something called horse cutting, which is like it's some sort of like you can go into contests
excellent,
for it,
right?
where it's basically you ride a horse and then you try to separate one cow from a herd and keep them separated the entire time.
Oh,
It's
like
called-
proving your mastery of the craft.
Exactly. Yeah, you cut a horse from the herd. Apparently, Michael Keaton is like, if you look up some of these horse cutting websites, they always refer to him as Michael Douglas, and then it'll be like brackets, also known as Michael Keaton, and he's like a champion at it. Like, he owned his own horses and stuff. So,
Does he compete under his real name so as not to kind of, make it obvious who he is?
I think that is the thing. Yeah, you got a lot of pictures of him out there, cowboy hat, sunglasses, as if he's like, I'm not Michael Keaton, and they refer to him as Michael Douglas the whole time. So, although then people will be like, I hear there's an actor here, and some guy called Michael Douglas is on the goddamn horse.
But when you saw him, you'd be like, that's not Michael Douglas.
The thing
You
is,
wouldn't
though,
think that's Michael Keaton.
but then maybe if he loses, he'll be like, you hear that asshole Michael Douglas?
That's the real reason. He covers up his loss. We should go to the start of this minute.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
we went to the end initially. So the start, Alfred, he pops his mixtape into the most elaborate case I have ever seen.
That's
Like, this is
style.
the deluxe edition that you get through his Kickstarter.
You're not getting that the old jewel cases. You used to go down
Yeah.
to
It's
Mazda
Niall
to
burning
buy.
those Christmas albums.
That's exactly
Look
the
at
case
this
he
fire
gives us them
mixtape.
in. Look at this.
Were those practical CD cases
What, this one?
at the time? Were they like Mac CD cases? or
I've
something?
never seen it.
That's a beautiful. If I had a CD case like that, that would be the one. That would be my
It's,
number one mixtape. Is getting that cover.
Is it just like, is it to look cool, or is it a protective thing? Because he is sending it to India.
So it looks kind of like, I think all the CD cases I've ever bought have all been like clear, but they do kind of look. This one's just got a kind of black sheen to it, or kind of see-through bluish sort of sheen.
Yeah, but look, like the spindle's metal and everything. It's like fancy. It looks weighty.
Yeah.
That would cost more to ship.
Well, I'm just surprised it's not got the friggin' bat symbol on it, though.
Oh
So I
god,
think
yeah.
It's like, oh well, just to definitely know it's important, I'll put the bat symbol on it.
If I had to
Yeah,
guess,
his family.
it probably just would have been like Apple was like, here, take this prototype computer, and here's for the CD, you get this really nice CD case to go with it. Keep
Yeah.
your stuff in it.
It's to trick people into thinking like, oh, this is a normal Apple CD case. All of my Apple CDs will come in this.
Yeah.
How many CDs does Alfred burn? Like, was this a special?
Tons.
Had to like go to the store to buy this stuff, or is it like, because we do know that he is DJ Pennyworth from Batman Returns. We
Exactly.
had sitting with the headphones on and stuff, so he's like, he could be making his own mixtapes for everyone all the goddamn time.
He's doing all kinds of stuff with this. He's ripping PlayStation games, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the ISOs up on the internet already.
Oh, I would love though, instead of having to get out the marker to like mark what it is, he gets out like a proper like the big feather, the quill, and has to write to the top of the CD with that.
Hell yeah.
That's how you do it. Yeah, how else are we get all these old show tunes on LimeWire and such like that? It's Alfred. He's ripping it off the phonograph and putting it on the internet.
He was the one populating LimeWire with all the stuff.
Yeah.
See, I actually think Alfred should be sending this on the old-fashioned gramophone wax cylinder.
Right? The big thing.
Yeah, he seems like a man who would have wax cylinders.
Yeah, oh, totally. He should at least have a wax seal. To
Yeah.
like,
On the CD.
Yeah, like a Pennyworth
This
crest
is-
and stuff to be like, yeah, just make sure that everyone knows it's from you and make it look official. Alfred.
This is why we need like a 1930s Batman movie.
Oh, yes.
We need to go back to like that old era of Batman.
Definitely.
And then you could have Alfred like doing these kind of espionage things because he served in the military back then, right? So he's doing like these kind of, I need to send this message, and he's pressing the vinyl record.
That would be
and sending
so
it out.
cool. And why not, right? We've said this a lot this season, especially. But like the charm of the comics is that you can just get a random Batman comic that is set, like this one is set in 1930. You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool. We
Yeah.
want movies like that. Just do a movie set in the
Yeah,
past.
I fully condone them announcing Gotham by Gaslight. I was
Do
like,
it.
yeah. This time it's Timothy Olyphant is Batman, but
Yep.
it's in the 1800s. There you go. That's a movie. It's like,
Perfect.
Oh, great. Yeah,
It won't confuse
Oh, yeah.
people. I think they don't do it because they assume, like, casual viewers will be confused. They won't. Everybody knows who Batman is. It's fine. We get it.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do have several questions about though is because Bruce comes in and he's drying his hair even though he's got no hair to dry.
Hey, don't rub it in. I mean, come on.
And he goes over to Alfred's fireplace, and it seems to be covered in trophies. Like,
Yeah.
I'm interpreting because one of them's definitely a trophy. One of them I thought was a golfing trophy at one point. But like, it looks like it's a guy stooping down.
Yeah.
But when you get the close up, there's no stick, and it looks like he's holding a ball. I was like, is it a
It
bowling?
looks like he's holding the big ball.
Is it a bowling trophy? Like, is Alfred a bowling champion?
No
It-
way
it-
he goes bowling.
It honestly looks like a bowling trophy.
That would be
God.
great that that's his Saturday nights. He just puts on the old weird sneakers that he gets there. And everyone's just chilling in the bowling shirts, and Alfred's there, but he's still got the suit coat on. And
There's
stuff.
no way he goes bowling. Oh my god. Golf, I could see. I could see Alfred playing golf. But
Or croquet. Something like that. But like
Yeah.
it.
Polo.
We're all wrong. It's probably like a rugby trophy. I mean, come on.
Or like shot
well,
put.
yeah, you know what? Rugby, although of course it has a certain image of being rough and tough, and it is.
Yeah, no, him right now. He's on the rugby team now.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, he is.
That's
yeah.
that trophy's from last
Well,
season.
despite that image that rugby has, traditionally it does stem from the upper classes. I know these days it's not so much, but back in the day it was all the posh people playing it. Alfred would have played it. This is a man who, if you believe Pennyworth, he went and banged the Queen.
Yeah.
So,
That's what it could even be like if it wasn't a ball, it's like it was a teapot. It's like it's a best butling trophy or something.
Now,
Yeah.
now you're onto something.
Yeah. He goes to like the Crufts for butling. So Bruce has to walk him around and show like this is him
Great
pouring the
form.
tea and
Yeah.
good form on
Carrying
the
the
pole
trays.
there, yes.
making the cucumber
Yeah.
sandwich, all that.
The trophy that's right next to it, I kind of just want to point out, it's got like these. It looks like an upside down rocket ship, right?
Yeah.
But like the little fins on it are, to me, they look like that. Looks like that trophy was drawn by Bruce Timm and put in
Yes.
the animated series, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
I was thinking the same exact thing. Like it looks like the most Batman
trophy you
animated
could ever
series
get.
trophy.
Yeah,
I do wonder.
that's the Batman trophy.
Batman gave him it for being a good butler to Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of like animated things, the one in the center kind of looks like a miniature version of Wall-E.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Pixar Easter egg. You found it. Good job.
What could these be? I genuinely don't understand. What I would have done if I'm dressing the set is just make them some sort of like antiques. Like Alfred, maybe he collects Greek vases or something.
Swords, helmets,
Yeah.
things of that, arrowheads or something. Yeah, things
But
of that
they've
nature.
made a conscious decision to put trophies there.
Well, it could be even like his military stuff. Say like he's
Do
got
you get a
medals.
trophy in the military? You
No,
usually get a
medals
medal.
and stuff like that. Maybe like some kind of a plaque or something. But yeah, it's the fact that like it makes it look like Alfred was once a great sportsman.
Yeah.
And
Well, he had an active past. Again, if we're to believe these newer sort of interpretations, he was up to a lot of stuff back in the day.
yeah, also really enjoy, and I'm choosing to believe it's deliberate that on either side of all the trophies, there's like matching lamps, and it appears to be a guy in a cloak holding like a staff kind of thing, and that's the light. But
Yeah.
it kind of looks as if it's Batman and Robin, and this is like he doesn't have pictures of them in the room. But it's there as a little signal, like he cares for them, and he has two little things that remind him of Batman and Robin.
Maybe. All I could think was I used to have bookends that were these statues from Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah,
They
they
those
were
giant
great.
ones with their hands out.
Oh,
Yeah, I think you got those with the DVDs in you, because I
That's
remember
where I
having
got 'em.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that too. Yeah, those are
Unfortunately,
great.
though, I was going to blame myself. You know what? No, I'm going to blame the company who made them. You didn't make them heavy enough. My books knocked them over, and they smashed to
yeah.
pieces like 15 times.
The way that you said, like, you didn't make them heavy enough. The guy who made that's just like, what? Me?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
somehow reached him.
You know what? Maybe I overloaded them slightly. Maybe. But they're bookends. They should be heavy.
Yeah.
But
That's the point of bookends. They're supposed to be heavy enough. And books are
yeah,
heavy.
put some weight on
Books
those
are-
things.
I've never owned a set of bookends. I'm gonna be honest with you. guys.
They're the
Never.
only ones I've owned. I've never ever sat down and thought to myself, you know what would really tie this room together? Some bookends.
I think it's
Bookends.
usually the scenario, like, I'll see nice bookends, but then it's like, they'll cost like an arm and a leg. And it's like, well, I don't.
Yeah.
They are expensive.
Yeah.
And like, what's the point? Like, if you have enough books, you can fill the shelf. No need for the bookends,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is the point of the bookends just like, well, I don't have enough books.
I
I'm
just
sorry.
have to
I'm
get
not
more
that,
books.
Yeah, I'm not that impressive. I only have like 6 books, and I need bookends for them. Come on.
And what am I going to do? Get bookends for my DVDs? Like, what am I?
Well,
That's extreme.
I assume that's probably what these were for, and I think I can't remember. Did I use them for books or DVDs? Oh, that's really taxing.
Oh,
my
you're
brain.
classy. Yeah, you want to see my DVD collection? It's got bookends.
Well, you invite a lady round and you're like, come and look at my DVDs.
Get the Lord of the Rings bookends on them.
That always wows the
They've
ladies.
got the single edition Shaun of the Dead from its original pressing back in 2005.
I do have the special edition Shaun of the Dead that comes with a comic book by 2000 AD.
Oh.
And if you look here, you can see where I've glued the bookend together 3 times.
Yeah, the first couple of times I did glue it back together, and then after a while, when the head and the hands came off, I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Also say, actually, in a weird bit of Everything's Connected, that Robin Facing the Enemy book I was talked about last episode, that was written by Alan Grant, who used to work with John Wagner on 2000 AD. And the character in that book is called Joe Wagner in reference to that. So that's a bizarre bit of like coincidental Everything's Connected there.
See, I was led to believe that Alan Grant was a paleontologist.
No,
The dinosaur man. Mommy, the dinosaur man.
that's Dr. Alan Grant. Completely different Alan Grant.
Oh, of course, yes. He didn't attend university for all those years to not be called doctor.
That's exactly what Pamela Isley, like earlier in this movie, Dr. Pamela Isley. He's like, okay, yeah, of course.
No lapses in decorum.
Yeah, you know what? If I was a doctor, I would insist on it as well, just to annoy people. It's like, I worked hard for that. Screw you.
What do you guys, like, they're not in these minutes, but what do you guys make of Uma and Arnie in this movie? Because they've actually been weirdly divisive. So, like, we thought that we kind of assumed everybody would have loved Uma Thurman, but someone came in a couple of weeks ago, like, hard against her. It was quite
In a
shocking.
funny way, though.
I don't know if I have anything against them.
Good.
I mean, first of all, Arnold he's singing as far
He's a
as
treat.
an actor.
He's a treat
Like,
in this movie. 100%.
He's doing like if you think about Arnold's acting chops and you think about this Mr. Freeze character and the suit and the makeup and all that, and it's like you got it. I mean, you can't. He's giving like 200%. I think that's the whole thing. It's like if you have to go absolutely balls to the wall with the character if you're gonna do a comic book movie, and the way that he did it. I mean, sure, it's not the Sub-Zero version of Mr. Freeze that some people might want, but that's not who he's playing. So he does a fantastic job. Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, I just kind of feel like I am not eligible to talk about or like critique her because it's like obviously Uma Thurman has had a great career, so I think it's fine.
Oh, only fine.
I think it's
to me,
fine,
it's the
but I
best
could
thing in
be
the entire
wrong.
film.
Yeah, I don't want to. I can't say it is or isn't, and be. I don't know. It's just kind of like just Poison Ivy. I think before she turns into Poison Ivy when she's just Dr. Isley, I think that's important. I think that part gets overlooked.
Yeah.
I think this cast is stacked. This movie is stacked, and for good reason. I mean, it's iconic in a way. Point fingers and make fun and laugh all you want about it, but you're still talking about this movie. We still have George Clooney as Batman. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, and then you get the Mr. Freeze in the bathrobe sequence. That is just pure pleasure. They even went the extra hand to put it in the Space Jam. I mean, really, it's great. You love to see it. I think Uma Thurman is, by all definition of the word, iconic as the role of Poison Ivy. I'm not even paying attention to like acting chops or capability as the character or anything of the nature, because I have a live action, very vibrant, very colorful comic booking Poison Ivy in a Batman and Robin movie. I mean, it's camp, and I'm okay with it. It's really only until I don't know. What are the expectations? You put on the movie, it's Batman and Robin, you see colorful neon and big buildings and a cool motorcycle chase scene. Yeah, that's it. You're I don't know what else to give you, you know? Like do you need freaking Shakespearean type actors portraying these characters? No. I would like to see those types of chops when those moments are written in the movie. Absolutely. This scene right here is definitely one of those. But I mean, like, it's iconic. Make fun of it all you want. I don't care. Batman and Robin is a fun movie, and it's, here to stay. You have the callback to those characters. Do you know how many Uma Thurman Poison Ivies I see at a convention and on Halloween? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's an ocean. It's awesome. If you can even
it's a garden.
It's a garden. It's perfect. If you can even get the people to do full, blue body paint and a bathrobe, hey, awesome. I want to take your picture.
Yeah.
Shit, throw on the Mr. Freeze, suit and everything. Crazy. That's even more all that stuff. Even like, Bane. One of my first times paying attention to what the character Bane was from this movie.
Same.
And that's set in stone of who that character is supposed to be. And it just went along, with my knowledge of comics and then growing up and having that image of Poison Ivy and Bane in these just beautiful, vibrant colors and outfits that are just like so camp. It just fits and it makes sense, I dig it. I'm all for it.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
But back in this minute, so Bruce casually toweling down here by the fireplace, and then he asks Alfred what we said. Is he pig-headed? And yes, Alfred confirms. No tea, no shit.
I also really enjoy the way though he says like, am I pig-headed? Is it always my way or the highway? As if this is like a hip idiom that Bruce Wayne.
Well, it wasn't much after this that Limp Bizkit brought that up. Of course,
I was gonna say I would be surely remiss if we did not mention Limp Bizkit. What year was that song out?
Oh, that must have been around 2000 to 2001.
Yeah,
I think because it was around 99. I got into Limp Bizkit. And that wasn't the first album that was
Yeah.
on, was it? That was like the second album?
Pennyworth was all about that new metal.
Oh, yeah. That's what he's
Well,
burning.
yeah.
He's put his audio on and a few new metal tracks.
Oh, then he sees the classic
Korn, yeah.
LimeWire Limp Bizkit.exe. Oh no, Alfred, don't.
Don't click it.
Don't do it.
I'm going to do things my way.
He can't hear us. He's got headphones in.
Oh, God. Now I've just got Fred Durst's voice in my head. My way or the highway.
That was. I would really love it though. Like, there's more stuff like, "Is Alfred? Am I bogus? Am I most non heinous? Yes, sir. You are.
Am I a narc?
Oh, my God. Now I need Keanu to play Bruce Wayne.
Well, apparently he was up for it in
Yeah.
Batman Forever. He was one of the people considered, but it's like, nah, man. That's Keanu. I love you, but
okay.
no, you couldn't play that part.
In the minute, we get some amazing lines now, where we alluded to them before, but where Alfred, this is some of the best lines in the movie. He says, "Death and chance stole your parents, but rather than become a victim, you have done everything in your power to control the fates. For what is Batman?" Some of this goes into next minute. "If not an effort to master the chaos that sweeps our world, an attempt to control death itself." It's like, oh my God, this is poetry.
It's proper. It really is. And that's that right there, what you said. It's poetry. It's theater. It is a written just beauty spewing from this man's mouth. And who better to be describing this batshit crazy character than Alfred Pennyworth?
Yeah.
Like this in itself right here. Minute number 53 of Batman and Robin is freaking poetry to the character and to the franchise of Batman.
Yeah.
This is it right here.
I love every second of it, all of this dialogue, and it sent me down a rabbit hole that I won't read all of it, of researching the Fates, because I'm playing a game at the moment, Hades, which is all
yes.
Greek and whatnot. And I was like, oh, the Fates, they're a thing. It's not just a term.
Oh yeah,
But I
major
researched too
characters
much.
in the Sandman comic books, the Fates.
Oh, yes.
Come up
Yes.
a bunch of times.
Isn't that coming? They're making a TV show of that, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
hurting its way
Yeah.
towards Netflix, and no doubt.
And the audiobook was really good too.
yeah,
Hmm.
just announced the sequel that's coming. Well, part 2 is out in September. A couple of really massive names have attached themselves to it as well, so it's doing pretty well.
Well, see, in Greek mythology, looking at it at least, again, I'm not breaking the whole thing down. I did too much research. I made like 10 million pages of Greek mythology notes. But even Zeus himself could not recall the decisions of the Fates, who were 3 goddesses who weave. They are literally weaving the Fates. So he cannot change what they decide. Even Zeus. So it's interesting that Alfred says this to I was going to say to Batman. It is to Batman, really, rather than Bruce. You can't change these things. You're trying, and you can't. It's pointless. Give up.
Yeah. This reminds me, though, because obviously I would think of like, oh yeah, the 3 witches in the Sandman, and then also Disney's Hercules that actually has the 3.
Yes.
3
Prime
fates.
example.
Yeah.
Very different interpretation, but the same thing.
Yeah.
And then in Batman's scenario, this is how you get into Prometheus and things you cannot change and trying to fight with godlike power. It's like,
And as we've brought up before, this whole movie has a Greek theme running through it, because I mean that's the inspiration for the look of the characters. They were like Greek statues.
yes.
Do it.
It's also it's a real. It is great that Alfred comes out with this in the final movie of this quadrilogy too, because as we've stayed with him, we did note in the first movie he seemed like quite anti-Batman. Like he always had very passive-aggressive kind of things to say to Bruce. He was always trying to hook him up with Vicky Vale because maybe that would get him away from it. Then he had the whole, I have no interest in seeing my few remaining years watching, mourning for the death of old friends and their sons and stuff. And now, as time has gone on, he now has complete perspective on Batman. And he's just like, yep, I get who you are, what you're doing. I understand. I can describe your mission to you better than you can. Kind of thing.
Yeah, I think he's one of those who he gets it now. He doesn't endorse it, but he supports Bruce in whatever he wants to do.
Oh, I think he 100% endorses it now because he made Robin's suit in the last one. He has all the stuff prepared for Barbara Gordon in this movie.
But
as
his
well.
attitude here seems to be like, it's a bit stupid. But I'll help you.
Yeah, that's Alfred.
Yeah.
Like, what you're doing is stupid.
Alfred made a promise to watch over this kid. Yeah, he made the promise. He's going with the promise because, okay, the kid wants to dress up in a silly costume and jump off of rooftops and not go to therapy. I'll go with him because I made a promise to keep this kid happy, to protect him, to keep him alive, pretty much. And this shtick that you're doing, going out at night and picking up random kids and using cool toys and stuff like that. Hey, if that's what's going to keep you from killing yourself, man, all right, let's go head for it. Like, you got it. If you want to be, listen, if you want to be in to the whole cowboy shtick when you're 9, we're going to go all out. We're going to get the pony rides. We're going to do all of it. And that's going to be your personality for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what
I get it. I like it. I think it's nice.
But yeah, though that's all I'm noted out for minute 53. You don't know if anyone's got anything else they want to.
Only far too many about the
saving it
fates that I don't want to read all of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you should post it in the group.
That is
we could
actually
read
a
into
very,
it.
very good idea. Niall, remind me, because I'll forget. Remind me to do that. And we will remind you, listeners, to join us again on Friday for more wonderful Bat Minute and Robin action. See you then, Batmites.
Next time, biker mice from Barb? Ruminations on ruination leave our eyes hazy as a dear, dutiful domestic discusses pushing up daisies. But as Alfred ominously alludes to every human's final trip, which clandestine escapades will make Dick literally flip? A crime fighter is floored by a familiar femme on Friday, Bat fans. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.